I wanted to talk about this woman who has been passing as black, Rachel Dolezal, I think her name is, Dolezal, out in California, or out in Washington State. And this is kind of complex. Actually, this is quite complex. I mean, it might be something as simple as, you know, somebody with borderline personality disorder, which is where a person doesn't really have a strong sense of self, bonding with her adopted African-American brothers and then going to Howard University and bonding and, you know, I mean, who knows? I mean, it could be just, it's probably, in fact, in all probability, this is some sort of a psychological thing. But it raises a whole lot of really interesting questions. Typically, I mean, up until relatively recently, up until my lifetime, if black people tried to pass as white and were caught, depending on the state, they could be put in prison. You know, if the Klan was around, they could be put to death, and were frequently. During the era of slavery, when that happened, I mean, Thomas Jefferson married off 2 of his daughters with Sally Heming as white, 2 New York white businessmen, and got them out. But had they been busted, those women's fates would have been terrible. So there is this hierarchy, this you know, that starts with male white power, and then there's female white power, and then there's male black power, and then there's female black power, and that's the descending order. And then you can insert kind of in the middle in those places, you know, gay power and whatnot. You know, where gay, you know, and in fact, there's a pecking order there too. You know, male trans, female trans, male men, gay women, all are viewed differently. But why would somebody give up white privilege unless it was to, you know, I don't know. I'd like to have a conversation. And as a white male, I'm not probably the best person to understand this. So back to Rachel Dolezal. I mentioned during the break on our Free Speech TV feed that there was a time when I got very, very close to the gay community when I was a teenager back in Michigan, and tried essentially being gay, and even showed up at MSU gay liberation meetings and stood in as vice president in one meeting. He wasn't there, so I took the role. It's kind of a parliamentary thing. But it wasn't me. I figured that out quite quickly, and that hey, I'm straight. I'm not bisexual. I'm straight, and so, you know, here we are. But what appealed to me was not the idea of being gay, but that there was such solidarity in the gay community at that time. I mean, I'm assuming there still is. That, you know, being part of a subculture, an oppressed subculture, there's this extraordinary sense of solidarity. Did I tell the story about Louise and the during the break? Yeah, okay. Louise was telling me. I'm going to repeat this story. Louise was walking her dog this morning, and our new dog, and in the park, and there was a black woman that she met there who was walking her dog, and this woman was telling her how the neighborhood used to be 100% black. It's the Southwest waterfront, and I mean, just like 8 years ago. And now that it's being renovated, it's also being gentrified. I mean, the price of apartments or of condos down there has gone from, you know, a couple $100,000 to $1 million. I mean, it's amazing. And so the neighborhood is now about 50-50 white-black, and most of the African Americans who are moving in are upscale, you know, they're middle class or above. And this woman said, you know, it used to be that there's just this incredibly tight community here. If you left a pan on the stove and went to the store and forgot to turn the stove off and your neighbor smelled it, I mean, everybody left their doors unlocked, your neighbor would come over and turn the stove off for you. And she said that just has gone. That sense of community has gone. So was Rachel looking for a sense of community? Louise and I have a relative, a member of our family, who married, she's white. She married an African-American man, lived with him for years and years. He died of a heart attack about 2 years ago. And she's lived in the black community in southeastern Michigan with him for decades. And she still lives in the black community. And she's white. But she perms her hair. She doesn't try to pass herself off as black. But she really, that's her community now, this white relative of mine. So, you know, there's something here. But to put this in the context, something I was really educated by Eleanor Burkett. This was in the Sunday Review, June 6th, in the New York Times. What makes a woman? And she's talking about Bruce Jenner becoming a woman. And she says, oh, you know, that's all fine and good. But Bruce is not really a woman. He's trans. He's not really a woman. And she says, you know, he didn't, these are not quotes, these are my paraphrasing, but, you know, he didn't grow up being talked over by boys in school. Boys interrupt girls far more than vice versa. He didn't grow up worried about being raped when he walked through, you know, any neighborhood in the dark. He didn't grow up, you know, freaking out when he first started menstruating. He didn't grow up with the concern of pregnancy. I mean, he just didn't have the experience that an actual woman has. And so he can be a woman, but he's not really a woman. He's trans. And in fact, she points out in the article that Bruce Jenner had, when it was Bruce Jenner, had all the advantages of white male privilege, which got him an athletic scholarship and got him great jobs and got him speaking things, and just, you know, he took full advantage of that white male privilege and now is leveraging that into being a female. So that's that kind of step down. I don't see an easy explanation.